Wonderful. So we are live. Thank you so much, Yemi, for joining us all the way from the States. Yemi, who represents Kosibah Designs. And I think it's wonderful right now that we can speak to people from around the world who we are very interested and eager to speak to because we want to know how you're doing. I mean, in this very special time that we all are in right now.
Particularly in America, like we are very much concerned about what's happening there. So we are concerned about everyone that we know. And also like a little bit about your story, Yemi, because you have an incredible story where you came from and about your mom and about your name and about your like design education and all of this. I think we can fill like a couple of hours, but we have to like get everything in about an hour. So I hope that you can explain a little bit like what is
your journey, basically,
and
where things started, and obviously also right now, what are you facing? What are the difficulties Kosibah is also facing? I know that you are based in the US, but you also do business like in the UK and in Nigeria. So maybe what are your options or what are your clients' options as well? So I think that would be great to know.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's an absolute pleasure to be on. So, in a nutshell, my story is I was born and brought up in Nigeria, in a little city called Ibadan, and I was extremely fortunate to have parents that nurtured and encouraged my talent for sketching. I used to draw, and specifically human figures and the clothes they were wearing. And when it got to the stage where I had to decide what career to take, I said I wanted to do fashion, and my parents were behind me. They said, whatever you can do, just do it to your best. So I did study in university in Nigeria. I studied fine art, and I majored in textile design because I thought, well, textile and fashion sort of go hand in hand. And then afterwards, I went to England, and I went to an old school couture school where they taught, old school couture, making a pattern, really labor intensive learning. Because I thought, well, I can design, but I want to know how to sew. It's really important to know how to sew. And then when I finished that, it was during a recession in the early 90s in England, and the government was encouraging people to be self-employed. So I went on a business course just for 6 weeks, but it was absolutely vital because they said, no matter how talented you are, if you don't run your business as a business, it will fail. So they taught marketing, they taught taxation, they taught administration, all this sort of boring stuff. And that really helped me. So I chose a date, 1st of September 1991. So it's going to be 30 years next year.
Wow.
Yes. And I studied in Paris Academy. I studied women's wear, and I also studied men's wear. So when I started, I took in every customer that came through the door because I was, you're sort of worried, you just want to make everything work out. Very quickly, I realized the way I was trained, casual wear for women and men just was not viable. You might as well just go to a high street shop and buy something. And also, I realized I hated doing menswear. I just found it really labor intensive, but in the wrong kind of way. And I couldn't express my artistic feelings, and the design just came out as costume, and I wanted to make beautiful clothes. I didn't want to make clothes that would look ridiculous. And I said to myself, I'm only going to do what gives me joy. So I thought, doing this menswear causes me anxiety. I'm not going to do it. And that's why I stopped doing menswear. And gradually, the way I worked, the way my designs lent themselves, organically, I started doing bridal and evening wear because, it's really, really, it's going through the couture route to create a gown. So I was in England up until 2016. and an opportunity came up where I could relocate to the United States, and I grabbed it with both hands because, I am the sort of person that I feel it's good to be constantly pushed, slightly out of the comfort zone. And when you have an opportunity that, sometimes you dream about the fact that, oh, it'd be lovely to live and work in New York, never thinking it will happen. And when the opportunity came, I just thought, no, it would be absolutely crazy. So I thought
and it's the fashion hub. I mean, whatever anyone says about New York, but I mean, it's one of the fashion hubs. And I mean, the story may be coming from Nigeria via the UK, and then I mean, New York is always, I guess, a dream of a designer.
Yes, and I mean, I'd come back and forth to New York loads of times, so I knew that I could live in New York because it has the same vibe as the UK. Very energetic, very vibrant, and of course, the fashion district is just wonderful. So yes, I did come here in 2016, but even though I'd been in business for going on 24 years, when I came here, it was almost like I'd started again because I'd made connections through Instagram, Facebook, and some organizations like Munaluchi, where that's how I met, both of you. But yeah,
exactly.
So I'd done my groundwork, and I knew wedding planners, I knew different people in the wedding industry. But I think the reality is that when you move to somewhere new, you still have to build the trust. People still have to get to know you.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why my maturity and experience prepared me for that. So I knew this is something that's going to have to happen, and I'm going to humbly accept it, So I have a beautiful atelier in London, which I visit every 8 weeks. In fact, I'll just say something really quickly. I was in London the weekend. I went to fit a client the weekend that the president added the UK to the ban list. And I was meant to come back on Tuesday in the morning. The deadline was on Monday midnight. So, of course, I had to change my flight really quickly. Fortunately, I visited my client on a Saturday. She was really happy with the toile, just the prototype. And then on Sunday, I hopped on a flight, and Monday, UK was closed. So that's how, so that's where the effect of the thing had started.
Now, we had the same experience somehow when Alfie came back here to South Africa. She also catched almost two times.
I caught 2 times the last flight coming here, so I know exactly how it feels.
Yes.
And the flight full of people coming back, and it was quite quite harrowing because if anybody coughed, you'd wonder, oh my God, why are they coughing?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
But that was the last month in March. Now, what's happening here? New York is the epicenter of the COVID virus in the whole of the United States. We're all on lockdown. I am quite fortunate that I have my equipment here at home. It was something that I used to worry about until I realized that, well, it's quite acceptable to, even if you have your machine, it's people that create your clothes elsewhere, but if you sort of have your atelier at home, it's okay. But that is what is paying off now, because if I had premises elsewhere, I wouldn't have access to it. I'm not an essential, but it has to be closed. So I have all my work here. I'm able to continue doing some hand sewing for some of my clients' dresses, but also I started making masks. And there's one of my masks here.
Wow.
Yes, but I still make them. I'm the sort of person, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it really well.
Properly.
There are some times you see on YouTube, people whip up a mask in 5 minutes. My masks are not like that because they're sustainable. They're meant to be washed after each use, and they're meant to last a long time. So, there's lots of double stitching, there's lots of top stitching. I know what I'm doing. My masks will last a long time because the reality is until a vaccine is found or some sort of therapeutic cure, I think masks are going to be sort of mandatory, or whether it's for your personal safety,
Yes.
or it's actually mandated. Here in New York, you have to wear a mask. So I
Yeah,
thought
we
I'd
have
do
the
that.
same rule. Yes, we have
And I
the
think it's going to go. I mean, this is like sadly that's going to be a worldwide
yeah.
trend. Like I don't even want to call it like that, but it's just going to be like that. And what we see also emerging here in South Africa is that people want not standardized masks.
Yeah.
So they want at least sort of, I don't want to call it a fashion statement, but even while they're wearing masks, they want to look, I mean,
Maybe you have your logo Kosibah on, then it actually brands.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm there yet. Where I am at the moment is I'm making masks that I use 3 layers of very high quality cotton. It's meant to be to have a very high thread count. So it's not medical grade because those are
Yes,
made to
yes,
be for
obviously.
medical people, but it's still safe enough to do something. And it's better than, because at the moment you can actually wrap a scarf around your face. But I think this face mask is in the middle. I've also partnered with a charity. So with each mask I make another one that goes to the charity because they're
wow, that's
very,
wonderful. I mean, that's very, very, that's great. I mean,
yeah.
in this time, I think also everyone is measured by how much they're willing to give back somehow. And I think every business that can help business or private people in any way to just give a supporting hand,
Yes.
I think your clientele and your business will get met back much more after everything is going to go back to normal than what you feel you're giving now.
Yes.
So I think that's amazing. Such an initiative is wonderful. So just tell people if they're interested in the US, in New York, how can they actually like order a mask like that? Like, do they have to send an email, or is it on a website, or like where do they?
So for now, because it's just something I'm doing. Apart from the altruistic part of it, just for my mental health, to give me something to do, so I'm not twiddling my thumbs. So I've only limited it to the US because there's a particular charge, and I don't charge shipping. I don't want it to go into dealing with customs or being stuck.
No.
US, and they just have to send an email to designer@kosibah.com. And then we'll take it from there because it's not mass production. This is just me making the mask, and I'm taking my time making them. I'm not just throwing them together and whisking them out. No, because as I did say, they are sustainable. They are meant to last. And after it was thrown either by hand or in the washing machine. So it's not.
It's made by a lot of love.
Yes. So,
and is there different designs, or will you only have this black mask? So will you do different?
They look okay. So these are some that I'm literally making. So this is a pattern. So this is one.
Oh, cool. Okay.
This is another one. Them in a sort of black and white.
Yes.
Yes.
And then there's a pattern like that.
Yeah.
So they different patterns. They're supposed to look pretty. And then and they're limited. So once all those fabrics go, that's it. Then I'll get another set of fabrics. So there's some sort of uniqueness to them.
Maybe I give you a little idea. I saw this the other day, just actually as a little joke, but maybe for ladies, you can make also a mask, maybe an idea with a little bit of lace on in the front on top as a little bit of a couture. I like that actually.
Touch. I mean, it's.
Oh no! I mean, I will do some that are sort of pretty. Maybe you have some sequins or the diamond tip, but at the bottom of it will still be the cotton. So it's just the top layer that is.
Yes.
The layers inside will still have some of the elements that make it safe.
I think I mean, while everyone is talking right now, what they can actually do, or maybe how do events and weddings look like when this going to be over? I think mask as part of like guest gifts is going to be, I think, a major bring in the future, just for guest protection. And if maybe, I don't know, there's a specific pattern that is being used at a wedding, and if one can bring back the pattern for the mask that guests are wearing, and they can be kept as guest gifts, I think that is something that people can look into.
Or even for the service provider, like different, like for the caterer, or for all the service provider that actually work on one wedding, so they have a customized mask according to the wedding team. I think I like this idea.
Yeah, that's a possibility, because the reality is, when this is over, the reality of what was happening before is that's it. It's going to be different.
Yes.
Post-COVID is going to be different, and I think we have to prepare for that. There's still going to be joy,
Right.
but I think weddings are going to be much smaller. Weddings are going to be much more intimate.
Yes.
People are still going to be nervous about large crowds, and also I think the government is also going to instigate some rules and regulations in terms of people can be in a space at one time. So on the one hand, there's a lot of unknowns about it, but I think people should just prepare for that. But the positive thing is, I think the couples are going to realize why they are doing what they are doing, and invite people that mean a lot to them, rather than weddings where you're inviting somebody you've hardly ever seen, or just to make up the numbers, or for whatever reason.
It's like a third or fourth cousin or someone,
Exactly.
But I think, like from your personal view, because that's actually something very interesting. I mean, you have Nigerian background, and I mean, Nigerians are world known for big parties and huge events and a lot of people. So how do you think, like culturally, like the current situation that we are facing, like is somehow accepted by Nigerians, or even a lot of other African countries that have like hundreds of guests? Do you think it's going to pose a big problem, or do you think that people will adjust because they just see the necessity of what is needed?
Personally, again, because this is a global phenomenon, it's happening everywhere. And when you see people dying on the streets, well, maybe not dying on the street, but when you see the reality of the numbers, this is a real thing. This is, it's completely global. So whether you had the culture of having lots of people, or you had a culture of having very little people, it's irrelevant now. People know the reality. Everybody is going to go small. Everybody, regardless of. That's why I said what happened in the past is gone. It's going to be a new reality. But the good thing is, a bride doesn't necessarily have to have. In fact, when you have slightly less people coming, you can still achieve your dream. So you have maybe a smaller space, but all the florals, you can still have a beautiful space. But because there are not so many people, you can actually get the luxe feel you want. There's no reason why. Maybe your dress might not be, like, talking from a designer's point of view, your dress might not be as grand as elaborate, but you still would want to have something beautiful. You've got fewer guests, and then it's going to be the experience. The experience is going to be one of the greatest elements of weddings now. The experience, being with your loved ones, being able to appreciate it, and you're getting married because you love each other. So that's one of the positive things that will come out of it. But the reality is that we really don't know yet how it's going to be.
Most of the time, we also in the past said the more beautiful actually one can do in a smaller scale of a wedding, because you can take more focus to detail. Yeah, exactly. And let me just say one thing, like, before I forget. I wanted to say that actually by the beginning. I take my hat off for your governor in New York. I love him. I really, really love him. And I think he is an absolute gem. When he's talking, he makes me even calm. And I just listen to him. And I think the city has a wonderful example of a leader.
Leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also, like, trying to keep people safe. I mean, this is everyone should be in the position to say this is the aim of the game, to keep
aside
as
from
many
all
people.
political things. I mean, I'm not talking political. I'm just talking about my personal feeling that I have about him, and that makes me actually very happy for all of you.
Yeah, we feel quite safe, and I can only agree. So yes, that's I can agree. I agree to that.
And what I remember, actually, when you said at the beginning, I wanted to come back because this is so unique. I remember to know that how it all started when you was a child and you went with your parents to events like weddings and things like that. You actually took paper and pen and you did drawings of guests' gowns, actually, and you came home and and you had actually like your own little like a sketchbook.
That's correct. So my parents are very social. They went to lots of weddings, and for some reason, I was really fascinated by the whole thing. I just love the anticipation of the bride coming in, waiting for her, and then the whole bridal train. And in Nigeria at that time, the bridal trains were really big. You'd have lots of people there, all your relatives, and you'd have flower girls, balloon girls, bridesmaids, handmaidens, all sorts of things. And I'd really observe it, and when I got home, then I'd draw what I had seen. So at that time, I'm talking of from the age of about 6, 7, and
Wow.
show it to my mom. Then my mom would take it to work and show her, her workmates. Oh, this is what Yemi has done. Which is when I said they did encourage it. They encouraged and they nurtured it. And then as I grew older, I then started putting ideas of my own into my sketches. And again, that's one of the things with this pause we are having now. I have been able to rediscover my love for drawing, because before we've always been almost like on a spinning wheel. We've been, you do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. So, oftentimes I'm doing a quick sketch for my clients, and it's made me rediscover my love. So this is something I did recently. Now, when I used to do my designs and I had a lot of time, I'd do sketches like this. So, I do the hair, the makeup, the jewelry, down to the shoes. I loved doing that. And that gave me pleasure. And covered that. But also, I am now I want to take a course on computer aided design. So all that is done by hand, but I want to be able to do it with Illustrator, using an Apple Pencil or stylus, and this pad. And this is giving me the time and space to do it. And when I was also talking about changing the way one works, I'm also going to be doing a lot of remote consulting, Zoom or whatever platform, because I think you want to minimize the amount of contact you have if it's not necessary, and also putting your client, then they don't have to travel, even if it's their private transport or whatever. You just want to restrict that for now. So I'm going to be doing a lot of remote consultations, and the good thing about that is that probably it's going to open the opportunity for more people to be consulted by myself, because previous to that, you'd have to come here to New York or to my studio in London. But via Zoom, we can do it from a distance, from anywhere. And I'm also planning to have a ready-to-wear collection, because again, at the end of all this, a lot of people are going to be poorer than they were. That's just a reality.
That's the reality.
Lots of people have lost their jobs. Those that haven't lost their jobs, there's still some financial strain, and the one has to readjust
to the situation.
Your product, to face that reality. And I think ready to wear, it will be a lower price point. I'm still going to maintain the silhouette, which is the hourglass fit, figure enhancing, but maybe the fabric might not be like couture standard, because it's ready to wear. And then it's more open to lots of people. and you use volume to
first of all, I think it's tough for a designer to openly verbalize the steps. So I actually congratulate you that you do that and that you do that openly. On the other hand, I think no one can close their eyes for the realities that we are all going to face in each and every industry that we are in. Either it's weddings, it's events, it's just normal day-to-day business. So I think like the way how you do that and like to just already envision what is going to come will put you already one step ahead maybe of other designers or other people in the industry, because it's just realistic what you are saying. People will not celebrate or maybe even have the budget, even if they want to. They simply have not the budget that they wanted to spend pre-COVID that they can now, but they will still get married. Marriage will not be something that's going to go out of season. But just in a different way. So I think that's amazing still that you make yourself as a designer available to brides and to people who like your style, but just in a little bit of a different way. So I think that's a very brave step, and I believe it's a successful step, because also we have to think, how can we actually still make money by the end of the day? We have to feed, we have a family, we have like monthly expenses that we also need to pay. And I think it would be even irresponsible if you as an entrepreneur don't think about how the future is going to look like.
Absolutely. You have to a lot of people are using the word pivot, but for me, pivot is like you're changing. So I don't want to use that word. I don't want to use it that way. You're just readjusting what you do. And it also gives you opportunity to maybe do other things, but within your core
comfort zone.
So for example, for me, I have over 29 years of experience, and there are lots of methods that I've created you wouldn't see anywhere, because I've done it through trial and error, and it's my system. So apart from doing the ready-to-wear thing I was talking about and the remote consultations, I'm also going to think of a way where I can impart some of my knowledge, and some of it I will do for free, but some of them I'll also monetize,
Wonderful idea.
Online. So, for example, I might teach you how to do, if something takes about 3 or 4 steps, well, I'll tell you how to do step 1. I'll tell you how to do that for free, because it's knowledge I'm happy to pass on. And you can actually walk away with that. But if you want to then go further into it,
in detail, that's a good idea.
One just has to be realistic and
and when I listen to you, I think like what you say is what Alfie already mentioned, is a step ahead, because like our situation here, obviously we are like 2-3 weeks behind the America and the European situation. And even though that we have these like drastic lockdown, so we have one of the strongest, strictest lockdowns all over the world. That means we cannot go even out of the house except for medical or for food. Everything else is not permitted. So that means a lot of people maybe still, like what we experience, they still try to figure out what is the situation after this lockdown. But surely they realize this is not like after the lockdown is finished, because there is an after, like, which is the future. This is not an after like you can carry on as you stopped before lockdown. I think, but that also needs time for a lot of people to realize, to sink in. And I think it's really amazing to hear that you are actually
proactive in the way. And I think also, it's is due to your 29 years of already experience, because I think there's a lot of younger entrepreneurs or maybe younger people who are just like, I mean, they go blank right now because they have just not experienced anything like that. And maybe for them, it always just went sort of uphill. And all of a sudden, they're facing such a dramatic, I mean, really situation, unprecedented in the world. And yet we're all facing the same problem somehow. Sooner or later, it will hit us in like how
different ways.
yeah, in different ways, and how strong it will affect our industries and economy. But somehow still we're sitting all in the same situation. So I just again, I mean, it's for me, it's amazing, specifically that you want to take on board technology more. I think this time has also shown how much technology can actually do for us
In a good way.
in a good way, because before that we were all like, oh no, technology, and it's taking away jobs, and people are losing jobs because there's a lot of technology involved. But
And
I think that's great. And I mean, personally, I'm really interested in how many consultations do you actually physically need um, with a bride, like before you can like do a dress. So is it one or two? Like how many?
Okay, so
Like
usually I would have what I call the first consultation, where a bride comes in, and that's where we do the design, we talk about fabrics, everything, and then I take their measurement, and then I do something called a toile, which is a prototype of the dress. And normally uh, there are some things that don't make itself known until you've worn a dress, and then you do, so you can identify those fitting issues, correct them, and then usually I get the bride to come and try on a second toile. And then once that's fine, then we proceed to making the actual gown. Now, with couture, I think I can only eliminate one of those steps, which is the consultation, which I can do via Zoom.
via Skype or whatever, yes.
And maybe even at the end, maybe like posting some swatches. But the fitting with the toile, unfortunately, that still has to be done. But I guess now we have to take some precautions. Everybody wears a mask. You don't, it's only at the point where you have to come close to the client, and everybody's just aware of the situation and trying to keep everybody safe. And I think, for example, when you went to shops that have a really big bridal shop with lots of people in, brides are going to be frightened about that. For me, I've always seen clients by appointment, so you only have one client at a time.
Yes.
And that, again, that's one of the things that will probably come to the fore now. Brides will not want to come to a place where there are lots of other people they don't know. And for me, I might even limit the amount of, you can either come with your mom and your sister, or two people.
I've seen this already. I've seen this already in bridal shops as well. I mean, I know, I mean, they exist so that they limit the people that they allow per appointment. So even if you have now a big, I guess, showroom, you are just allowed to come like one customer with only like two people maximum. So I think that was going to be also the new norm.
Yes, absolutely. So and then that's where with the ready to wear, then that issue doesn't even crop up, because it can all be done remotely. You can buy it through the website. I will still have, there's also like a middle ground where, for example, I might do a remote consultation with the bride and narrow down exactly what I think would be best for her, and then take that sketch and all the information and then go to someone local to her, because there are lots of changes that are going to come. One of it is the distance and where you travel. So, for example, traveling from one country to another to buy your gown, that probably might not happen anymore. But you still want to have a designer from a different country. So that's the way I think I can solve that, or fit that need. So you do a consultation with the client, and you come up with a design. and then they go to someone local to them to make it. You know, I think that's
That's
uh,
and now
exactly
you
that
have three
question.
countries. You have three countries now that you can cover because you have your contacts in three countries. You have the US, you have the UK, and you have Nigeria. I mean, which is again now sort of a little bit a benefit to you because you already have that background experience and
Yeah.
also the people.
The thing is with this, it could be anywhere if you think about it. That's why we just have to change our mindset.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's a remote consultation, you could be from anywhere.
Yeah.
And then you just have to then go to a dressmaker where you are. So it could be Russia, it could be Australia, it could be anywhere.
Yeah. That's the reason why one of our visitors actually said, Karen LaRue, she said, you are the king of couture. I mean, that
how
is.
kind of her. Thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate your kind words. I really appreciate your kind words.
Tell us a little bit. I see the sign, the board in the back. And I mean, I know it a little bit, but maybe some of our visitors don't know really why your brand is Kosibah.
Okay, now I had my first fashion show in 1982.
That when you
Now,
was
Wow,
born.
that was when I was born.
yes, a lot of people watching probably were not even born then. Now, I have to confess, I didn't know how to sew, but I was designing, and we had to come up with a name for the brand for this fashion show because it was organized by the Nigerian government and something about the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Culture. And I thought to myself that I wanted my brand, I didn't want to use my name, Yemi Osunkoya, or Yemi Osunkoya Fashion, Yemi Osunkoya Couture. I wanted to step slightly backwards from my brand. I wanted my brand to have a name that sounds African, but at the same time can cross over. I have to remind you, I was about 15, 16 then, but I thought very carefully about it.
Wow.
And as I said to you, my parents had always been extremely supportive, especially my mom. And my mom's name is Kosibah, spelled with a C, and it ends with an A. Now, my mom originally comes from Republic of Benin. It used to be called Dahomey. It used to be called Dahomey, but it's called Republic of Benin now. And it's the name given to a girl born on Sunday. So in Republic of Benin, depending on what day you're born, you have it. It's called a day name. So my mom, since she was born on Sunday, her day name was Kosibah. But as a Nigerian or as a Yoruba, which I am, it's extremely rude to call your mother by her name. I mean, it's just not done. So I would have felt really uncomfortable if I used my mom's name as it was, and then I had to tell people it's Kosibah, it's Kosibah. I just felt real uncomfortable. And I also wanted people to be able to pronounce it easily. So I changed the C to a K, and I put an H at the end. So it's Kosibah. And initially it was Kosibah Creations. And then in, I think, 2002, I dropped the creation. So it's just Kosibah. And that's where the name comes from. So it's
beautiful. I mean, it's inspired by your mom. I mean, in whichever way, the C or a K now, but it's I think it's a beautiful tribute to your mom who has supported you all the way. And I think also in the time, I mean, now when I think about it, when I think that 1982 was the first time when you had a fashion show, so then I realized actually in what time you grew up, and that it was really actually something very special. You and I will say that now, you as a man were having a fashion show in Nigeria, which I think like even the stigma and like a lot of the perceptions that you should maybe have a different job to support your family for that and not do anything related to fashion. I think it's amazing that you have that tribute to your mom, because I also know how moms are and how dear they are.
But we will not rebrand. So I'm happy with the name that we gave her. So,
but I think it's wonderful.
It's especially more significant because my dad was a professor, and my mom was a nurse. So it was, quite professional, where normally you would be sort of guided to do medicine or law, engineering. But, my parents weren't like that. They were like, whatever you do, just do it to the best of your ability. And that's what has pushed me to now, because I didn't want a situation where people could then turn back to my parents and say, oh, well, you indulged your son to be this, and look at where he is now. So that has always been almost like something prodding me on the back behind. You must not let your parents down. You must not let your parents down. You mustn't let them regret allowing
decision that you took.
But they supported you in the way as they supported you.
Yeah, it has been a driving force that, I'm not going to give anybody any excuse to turn around and talk rubbish to me.
No, you don't.
And I think, I think by the end of the day, the validation for everything is you are 29 years in business.
Yeah.
You are pioneering, for example, now the situation that you're facing by actually coming up with new and innovative ideas. And I think that's only possible if you actually have a passion for what you're doing. Because otherwise, like at least now, it would break like the inspiration if it wouldn't come from really inside, and if you wouldn't like live and love what you do. That would be now, I think, the tipping point, at least but now. But it shows that if someone does something from the heart, then you will always find a way. You will find a way to overcome a certain difficult situation or some hurdles that are thrown into your life and into your way. And it's beautiful to see that as an inspiration for, also, as I say, also so many young people. Someone who is almost 30 years in business doing the same thing. It's very rare these days, because a lot of people hop from one job to the other. They are trying to find themselves, which I don't want to judge. But it's amazing that from an early age, you were allowed to just do what you love.
Yes, I'm extremely lucky. And because I started very young, I made lots of mistakes. But the passion kept me going, and I made them when I was quite young and I was just starting out. And with each mistake I made, I learned from it, and I'm like, okay, this happened now. I'll make sure I'm never in that position again. And I was able to make my mistakes way back, at a young age and at the early start of my business. That not that it didn't matter, but it didn't matter to the brand then, because it was still a growing brand. But it helped me to grow. And I have always been the person that I am constantly raising the bar in order to survive longevity. In order to have longevity in a business, you have to constantly renew yourself. You have to renew what you have to keep moving forward. Keep learning. You never stop learning. And I never stop learning. And I never think to myself, oh, I've got to a stage where I can, sit back and relax. Say, I've got there. No, you're constantly striving to improve, especially with technology, because I use Kodak as an example. Now, Kodak is a brand that was worldwide. Everybody had Kodak films in their cameras.
Yes.
And then for nothing, completely beyond their control, the digital age came in, and for some reason they didn't
evolve
with they didn't evolve with it. So this was a fantastic product, but it just died.
Stopped.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that mustn't, that should not happen to anybody. So whether you, I mean, most of, for example, what we are doing now, Facebook Live, I'm not comfortable with it at all. I'm sort of, when I told you I made my brand Kosibah because I wanted to withdraw myself, I still feel like that, but I'm the sort of person that I know what needs to be done. Whether it makes me comfortable or not is irrelevant. If it needs to be done, brush yourself off and do it. And
you're doing great. You're doing great, Yemi.
Thank you. And do it well, because, you just have to do what has to be done, but don't lose yourself or your core values but you have to jump on it. When Facebook started, I didn't know what Facebook was about, but I knew, you have to get on. Same thing.
Yemi, you and me, we have almost the same age. So I have gray hairs, you have gray hairs, and we know why we have that, I mean, there's a reason for. And Facebook is one of the reasons of a couple of gray hairs of me, and I can really say that. But also, I think I see this in our own family. My dad is 82. He's turning 82 tomorrow, actually. My mom is almost 80. Yeah, we learned a couple of years back, actually, how to handle an iPhone. And I can tell you one thing. My mom and my dad, every single day, they either send me pictures from their garden, my dad sent a little video. So this is how we actually connect. And we never feel, I mean, they live in Europe, I mean, thousands of kilometers away. So we never feel disconnected. And I think technology can be, in a certain way, can be a bit dangerous when you misuse it, like also social media. And it creates also like a sometimes very artistic figures that people think they really like important, which maybe some of them are not. But also it can help in a lot of ways
to connect. I think this is specifically now because the world is getting so small. By the end of the day, to connect to people from different parts of the world, it doesn't feel so far away. If you speak to someone in the US or in Australia, and the connection is okay, it's like you sit like in the next room,
so our living room.
Yes, and I think that's also for your business specifically. I think it's a great tool to connect to brides and connect to people in a safe environment. I mean, they can be literally at home, and you can still do your consultations and give your advice to your best knowledge. And I think that's a great way forward for your domain.
Yeah. I mean, I am somebody that embraced social media with open arms, because when I started, there wasn't, you had to go through a third party to tell your story and hope for the best. But now you can tell your story yourself. You have total control. You can have a dialogue with your clients through, either commenting on comments or going into direct mail. It's just wonderful, and I embrace it. I mean, young people now are very lucky. They probably take it for granted, so they don't realize what a tool it is. But because I knew what it was like before, I am just so, I mean, I don't take it for granted at all. And, when people write comments, I reply. I'm very interactive on my social media. It's Yemi Kosibah everywhere to make it easy for people to find me. I mean, I'm now on TikTok because, again, I don't know what to do with TikTok, but I'm only figuring out. That's what
But I tell you what,
go on. You have to then figure out the right way to use it. You don't want to use it way, but you have to do it. So I'm on Snapchat. I don't do that a lot. I'm on TikTok, and I'll figure it out. But there's no point in closing your eyes and say, "Oh no, that's not for me." No, it must be for you, because the people that you are going to sell to might not be now. It might be in a few years. That's where they are now. You want them to know you, and then when they're ready to make a decision, they already know you. So, and that's why things like bridal conferences. Again, I'm going to mention Mona Lucci. There's another one I go to called Inner Circle. You should also try and go to all these conferences or resources just to learn.
I mean, of course, I think social media will never outgrow personal connections. No, I think it's like two-way, like you have to go like a two-way street. You should do your social media game, but you should always keep your personal relationships.
Absolutely.
That's why we also invited you, because, I mean, we met you at, like, personally, at an event with, like, through Mona Lucci, and it's great.
And you have done a wonderful show in Johannesburg.
I don't know if you remember, we came to see you in Dubai. At the hotel. That was fantastic. And of course, I met both of you in South Africa. So the personal connection will never end. That's really important. No. But I think you just need to use both of them to enhance one another.
Yeah. And I think also social media in these days now, this is even more important than before. You know, you said something very important just at the beginning. You said we never, and I say we because I include us all. We never had really time for a lot of things. We never, because we all were so busy. We were in this hamster wheel.
Busy,
Yeah, and now that we have time, I have found a couple of people that I like maybe before never would have approached, because first maybe I would have thought I can't bother them because they are so busy.
They don't have time.
They don't have time. Now I know they have time, so I can actually talk to them. Or I was maybe afraid they would not maybe be interested to do something. And also Elfie, when she came up with this idea, she listened a lot the last couple of weeks to Gary Vee, and she came up with this idea of the YouTube channel. And I said to her, okay, fine, when you figure out how to do that, I will sit next to you, but you know, that's how it is. And I think sorry, I think a lot of our clients are young people. They know exactly how to use all of this. So we have to jump on that train, no matter if we like it or not
to miss the train. Because I can tell you also, I also opened a TikTok account, but I have not put on one video yet, because I also still need to figure out what I actually need to do.
Okay, that's okay. You know, that's okay. You just learn how to do it, and then jump up with enthusiasm. You know, you remember you mentioned about maybe slightly younger people might be panicking at the moment. Again, I said this is the time to go on Instagram Live, or to watch all the. There's lots of free resources going on now. What people are putting on their Instagram Live. Previously, you'd have had to pay a lot of money to go to a conference to get all that knowledge. People are pouring it out now. So this is the time when, you know, use the time. It's valuable time that we'll hopefully never have this again. It's so unique. And also, I have to say that if people are not in that space, that's okay too. Whatever it is that will help your mental health, because, you know, there are lots of memes going around now that, you know, if now you're not improving yourself, or, you know, again, that might make people even more anxious. Whatever it is that works for you, do what it is.
But if you need time to recover, to relax for yourself, to sleep maybe 10 hours a day, and that helps you, and that helps maybe to start fresh, refreshed in like whatever day when things go better, that's also okay. So we say the same. It's not always that you have to be an engine, you know, like, and like also sometimes engines need to be stopped to be
to fuel again.
Yes, exactly.
And I think like right now, I also like sometimes you read messages, and a lot of pressure is now put, because we are now, for example, also in week 6 of lockdown. So it's a lot of time. And now you read messages like, if you, I don't know, have not learned like 2 more languages and such skills, you know, you have wasted a lot of time. And I feel the complete opposite. I feel like you need to do what is the right thing for you. And I think it's okay, as you said, to also be down and just like let yourself be, because we are not machines, you know, so we need also time to actually slow down. And we usually, I mean, we are not an exception. We do not, in like the pre-COVID time, we do not take enough time for ourselves. You know, I think that's very unique also for entrepreneurs. I mean, they're just running around, but it's not healthy also, you know. Just being constantly busy is also not healthy. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're successful or you are really productive also in a way. So I think this time also has shown a lot of people what priorities mean, or how you actually need to set your priorities right. And if that's the learning out of this, I think that's already a huge learning for all of us.
Yeah, and also when I come back to fashion, I read the other day, and I don't want to promote any designer or something, but there was a designer saying he he has taken the time now to think about what is his future and what he want to do in the future, and he don't want to work for fashion shows for like only prepare the dresses for the shows and running like a rabbit in a field. He's taking his time, no matter what the fashion industry produces on pressure on him. And I think when we all take our little piece, no matter how important, how big or small our businesses are, we will make a better world in a certain way. And I mean, it sounds a bit like too big as an outlook, but I think we can change the world. Everybody.
We are all a piece of the puzzle, you know. This is actually the reason why we're doing this, and why I think it's so important also to hear from other people, like from you, who sits like at the other end of the world. And I think it was very, very inspiring.
For them, we are on the other end of the world.
But for us, it's you. So it's always a matter of perspective, right?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great, and I'm glad that we've been able to have this dialogue, and it's a continued thing. So one just prays that we come out of it healthy.
Right.
Everybody, our loved ones are healthy as well. It's going to be a completely new world, and we just have to figure it out. But once you have your health, that's the number one thing.
You know what? And this you cannot even buy with any money in the world, and with no business, no successful business will be able to somehow compete with that. So this is the biggest asset that we all have, I think.
Yes.
I think whenever you can come back and we can travel again, South Africa is for you, and I promise you I will do a wonderful photo shoot with you. You bring your dresses, we make our flowers together, and we will have a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
I hope so.
Yes, I mean, it's we always need to do something to look forward to in the future, and I know that traveling will not be something that will be like open right away, but I think generally also for people, they just need to see the end, like the light at the end of the tunnel for that. Thank you so much, Yemi.
Thank you.
For being online with us. Can you just tell people who love to follow you, what is your website again, and your Instagram handle, and your TikTok maybe, so that people can start following you?
So my website is Kosibah.com. So spelled like that, .com. Yes. That's my website. And on all my social media, it's Yemi, which is the name at the bottom, Kosibah, yes. All one word, Yemi Kosibah. You'll find me on Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Yemi Kosibah, you'll find me.
Wonderful.
And now also on YouTube together with us.
I've actually
Thank you so much.
Yemi Kosibah on YouTube as well.
Yes. Wonderful. Yes, great. Thank you so much, Yemi. Have a good rest of the day. Yes. Stay safe. Yes. And we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And much luck to New York.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.